from your work, is confidence something that can truly be trained, like strength, or is it something that is inherent, and some people are just born with it, and some people are naturally predisposed to it? Like, how do you view confidence?
Well, on a general spectrum, I do think being elite in almost anything always helps to have some predispositions, to have some DNA in your favor, to have some upbringing where these things were modeled at a very young age. But no, confidence is absolutely something that not only needs to be trained, it needs to be earned. And to tell someone to be confident is about as helpful as telling someone when they're angry, hey, just calm down. Like, when in the history of the world has telling someone to calm down ever helped? It doesn't. In fact, it only infuriates them. So telling someone just be more confident will probably make them less confident, because now they'll feel shamed and guilt and frustrated that they can't just snap their fingers and possess this elusive trait. It has been my firsthand experience, as well as the experience of working with a variety of high performers, that confidence comes from a few different areas. And this is how we can earn confidence, and this is how we can train confidence. Number one, and these aren't necessarily in order, but number one, it comes from demonstrated performance. Confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from seeing yourself do the thing that's going to give you confidence. The reason somebody like Stephen Curry is such a confident shooter is because he has made more shots during the unseen hours in empty gyms than probably half of the NBA combined. He has put in the effort and the reps during the unseen hours to earn the right to be confident. He has seen the ball go through the basket from him shooting it millions and millions of times at this point in his career, so he has earned that confidence. So some of where we develop our confidence is by putting ourselves in position where we can taste some success, putting ourselves in position where we can do some things and see ourselves be successful. It's why when you're learning to shoot a basketball, you learn shooting the ball 2 feet from the basket, not 20 feet from the basket. You start in close and you develop the form and the muscle, the footwork and the muscle memory, and you see the ball go through the basket, and then you slowly start to move away from the basket. That's the reason that we, would teach the game of basketball that way, or at least the skill of shooting. So demonstrated performance is one. Another area that confidence comes from is keeping the promises we make to ourselves. If I tell myself tomorrow morning I'm going to get up at 4:30 a.m. and go play basketball, if I do get up at 4:30 a.m. and I go play basketball, I start to strengthen that confidence muscle and belief. If I wake up in the morning and hit the snooze and pull the covers over my head and go, man, 4:30 is way too early, I'm too tired, I don't feel like playing, well, now I'm going to start to erode my confidence because I'm not able to keep the promise that I set to myself. So the reason I share that is be very careful with the promises you make to yourself. Don't start small. Start with small promises and small goals, and slowly work your way up the same way you'd work your way back from shooting the ball very close to the rim. Confidence also comes from our self-talk and our dialogue. That inner voice. How do we choose to talk to ourselves? Do we talk to ourselves in a very demeaning and critical way? Well, if you do, you're going to erode your confidence. Or do you talk to yourself in an empowering way, in a challenging way? Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be soft with yourself. You can still hold yourself to an unbelievably, high standard of excellence, and I would encourage that you do that. But it means that you talk to yourself with some compassion. You talk to yourself with some love. You talk to yourself the same way that you would talk to someone else that you care about. And learning to do that, again, will strengthen your confidence. And if you start to mix those three things together consistently, you put yourselves in positions where you can see competence and you can see yourself demonstrating performance. When you do mess up, you talk to yourself in a stern but a compassionate and loving way. You keep the promises you make to yourself. When you say you're going to be somewhere and you're going to do something, you do that and you honor that. If you start to do those things, then confidence will start to grow. And then, like winning, confidence begets more confident. The more you start to do those things, then the more you start to self-identify as a confident person. But also understand too that confidence is somewhat compartmentalized. There are certain areas of my life that I am unbelievably confident. But that's because of the recipe I just gave you. There are other areas where I'm not as confident because I haven't earned the right to be. You know, if you could put me on any stage in the world right now and ask me to give a keynote on leadership and performance, and I could do that with the best of them because my confidence is incredibly high. If you put me in, you know, any arena or stadium and asked me to sing the national anthem before the game started, I would be absolutely petrified because I don't have very much confidence in my singing voice because I haven't put in the work to deserve that. So, you know, it's okay for confidence to be somewhat compartmentalized. You know, that's why someone can be one of the most confident players to ever play the game, but then if you ask them to give a speech in front of a group, that might make them a little nervous. They might not be as confident in their speaking ability as they are in their playing ability. So it's okay for it to have some compartmentalization.